Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Defion Productions podcast. I'm your host, Don Rinaldi, the hardest working nobody in Bitcoin. This is the only live stream podcast in the Western New York area. We are filming live every Thursday at either 11 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or some other random time that our schedules permit. Before we get started, if you're watching this on playback or watching this live, the best thing you can do for us, costs no money, it's completely free, is to like this video. If you really want to get aggressive, you can share this video with a friend or on your social media platforms. Comment on the video. We're watching the comments in real time. If you're watching this live, we'll interact with you, or you can comment on the playback, and maybe we'll talk about your comment on the next video. Lots to talk about today. We're having some pump in the market. So that's always good to talk about. So we'll start with the charts and we'll talk about the price action that we're seeing today. We'll start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin earlier today was about 97.5. That's where I seen when I was tracking the price, the top earlier. We're at 96,846.90 currently. In the last 24 hours, we're up almost 3%. Market cap at 1.923 trillion. Ethereum holding steady. That's up almost 4%, which is very rare to see Bitcoin trailing Ethereum in anything. But it's up about a percentage point over Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. That's at $1,854 with a total market cap of 223.9 trillion. Our total market cap of crypto has finally gone back over 3 trillion, sitting at 3.01 trillion, up about 2.65%. Fear and greed index is right in the middle, right at 51. So, we can look at some of these other coins too, going down line. It looks like we have XRP up about 2%. Solana basically tracking ETH percent-wise up about 3.8%. Doge up 6%. So across the board, we're seeing pumping. You can see the trending coins over here: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and these other shit coins over here. It's always good to wake up and see green. So the market is trending in the right direction. We've talked in the last couple of weeks on this podcast about the M2 supply, how we expect to see the bull market that we typically see on the odd year after the halving, typically mid to late summer, early fall. Things seem to be tracking in that direction, even with all this tariff stuff that's going on, even with a lot of market uncertainty in equities and across the board with all the stuff that's going on with politics and all of that. We seem to still be on track. A couple of weeks ago, people were thinking we were going to see $50,000 Bitcoin, and here we are, a couple of thousand away from back at 100K. Our next story, the first one that we're going to cover today. Michael Saylor, he put a tweet out earlier today. MicroStrategy is now up more than 3,000% since adopting the Bitcoin standard. So he put a chart up of all the, I'll make it bigger, all these assets that have given a return since MicroStrategy went on the Bitcoin standard in 2020. You got BND over here, bonds down 18%, VNQ 8%, Amazon up 21, gold up 56, the SPY up 68, QQQ 80, Apple 89, Microsoft 107, Google 118, Meta 121, Tesla 205, even BTC being up 715%. Is outpaced by NVIDIA being up 916, and then MicroStrategy leading the way at 3,142% as being that leveraged bet against Bitcoin. When I saw this, my initial thoughts were, I can't believe that other companies aren't following the same, like more other companies aren't following this same playbook as Saylor, especially companies farther down the list in the S&P 500, maybe company like 400 or company like, 450. Why wouldn't you look at a way to take that money that's on the balance sheet and put into something that's outpacing everything else like MicroStrategy has done with Bitcoin and is just completely blowing everybody else away? I mean, NVIDIA, when you think of companies that are outperforming, most people point to NVIDIA, but MicroStrategy is 3 times the return of NVIDIA, and NVIDIA is giving you almost a 10x return. It's crazy. 30x return, 31x return for MicroStrategy just by them employing the Bitcoin standard. Really, really crazy stuff. Moving on to our next story. I want to show a clip. I actually, let's pause that first. I actually watched this whole podcast the other day. Robert Breedlove's podcast. I used to watch it more in the past. I don't watch it as much anymore, the What is Money podcast. But Jeff Booth, if Jeff Booth is on a platform, I like to watch it because I think Jeff Booth is dynamite. And Jeff Booth was on for about 2.5 hours being interviewed by Robert Breedlove. And this is a clip. It's only about 59 seconds long. So I'm going to play it for our viewers. I'll make the screen large and I'll play this so we can listen and we can talk about what we think about Dr. Booth's thoughts.
It is the only non-counterparty risk asset. Everything else has counterparty risk to the debt and all of the things and decisions that other people make. So if the Fed doesn't print really soon, you're going to see a capitulation. Things are going to collapse in that 900 trillion. Houses are going to fall. Stocks are going to fall. It's going to keep falling faster and faster. Banks are going to fail. And you will vote for massive more printing. And then you'll say, how dare they? You will do all of the actions inside this. You watch free market people, free market economists, pundits, and everything else. Why won't the Fed print? Like, it's so ludicrous. Everything you do in your world, in your life, if you're not in Bitcoin and self-custody, it has counterparty risk to that. And the way I think about Bitcoin, and I know where we're going here, but why I say open, decentralized, secure protocol bounded by energy, those 5 interconnected pieces matter a lot. So protocols are winner take all, not winner take most. Technologies are winner take most. Protocols are winner take all, and protocols come in layers. The only recent example of a protocol is the internet.
So what Dr. Booth is alluding to is the inevitable, which we all know is perpetual money printing. The money printers are about to get turned back on again. The latest information that I've seen, they're charting about 5 rate cuts in 2025. That's what the betting markets are pointing towards. So it's really crazy to me as somebody who's been in Bitcoin for over 10 years to see how this keeps playing out the same on a 4-year cycle after cycle, how we get to this point after the halvening where the money printers get turned on, liquidity floods into the market, and money in value seeks safety in safe assets, scarce assets, which is Bitcoin. And we kind of saw gold front running. The bull run recently, and I'm actually going to look because I think I saw earlier that the gold price was actually down while crypto was moving today. Yeah, gold is down 2.65% in the last 24 hours. It's down about $87.80, holding at $3,231. Gold has had a really, really good run, and I think gold was the precursor, and now you're going to see Bitcoin pick up the mantle. If this was a marathon race, Bitcoin's going to pick the mantle up and to kind of take it from here. But I don't say that saying that gold's going to go away or people aren't going to use gold anymore. I've been vocal that I'm still an advocate for commodities like gold and silver, more gold, not as much silver. I think gold still has its place, but Bitcoin is just so much better in terms of what money is and value propositions than gold that and scarcer, and we can verify the scarcity of Bitcoin over gold, that it just makes more sense to be heavier in something like Bitcoin than you would be in gold. Although there are a lot of prominent Bitcoiners, and I've shared my story coming in from the gold and silver markets myself, that still advocate for gold, even as being Bitcoiners, while keeping the similar stance that I have, that if you're going to own Bitcoin, if you're going to own gold, then you should be owning Bitcoin as well. And if you're going to own Bitcoin with the gold, the heavier allocation should be to Bitcoin than be to gold. And I tend to agree with that. Although, as I say, coming from that gold and silver place, I am 100% out of commodities. I own I don't own any gold and I don't own any silver currently. All of my allocation has been into Bitcoin. And I think, I don't think I updated this podcast, but I actually sold the last of the silver that I had left. I sold it about 2 months ago and put it into Bitcoin. The little bit left that I had, it wasn't much. It was a few $100s that I still had, a couple of ounces of silver I still had at home in a home safe, and I just said, you know what, I'm gonna sell it and I'm gonna put it right into Bitcoin, and that's what I did. So I don't own gold, I don't own silver. I don't hate on people that own either one of those things. I still think they have a place, but for me and for my conviction, it's with Bitcoin and all the value that I can have that I don't need to take care of the things that I'm taking care of in life now, immediate bills and responsibilities. It goes towards Bitcoin. So there was no need for me to just hold on to that silver anymore, and I allocated it to Bitcoin. We're going to move to another story. This is for the PiCoin community that I like to check in on from time to time as they continue to spew out bullshit information in regards to what Pi is and trying to compare it to Bitcoin. And when they do that, I feel the need to get involved to set the narrative straight. There was a good post by Crypto XD, who I follow on X. He wrote a good thread talking about Pi. Before I do that, I'm really quickly too. I'm gonna go to this article here because this kind of leads into the next one. So let me start with this one here. We're in Niagara Falls, New York. I said that we're live streaming out of Niagara Falls. We're about an hour and a half out of Toronto, and Consensus 2025 will be here or be there, I should say, in 2 weeks from May 14th to the 16th. A bunch of different companies, a bunch of different corporations, shitcoining CEOs, shitcoining companies, all get together and hobnob one another at this Consensus 2025. And it was announced a month or two ago that the founder of PiCoin, Nicholas, will be there at Consensus 2025. There's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of speakers. If you go to the website, you have to literally scroll for like 4 minutes because I didn't believe he was really going to be there to find him and his speaking. So these PiCoin people are making you believe that he's like being showcased as a speaker at Consensus 2025, which is not the case. He's one of like hundreds of speakers that are going to speak through that 2-day conference event. We'll see if he shows up. We'll see if he speaks. I'm sure there'll be somebody clipping something of the things that he says. So I'm going to lead with that into this because Crypto XD pointed out some really good things in regards to what PiCoin is, what's happening with the coin, and setting some facts straight, because there are some pretty large following accounts that are making people believe that PiCoin is going to be worth $314,000. PiCoin is going to replace Bitcoin. PiCoin is going to be the world reserve currency. Complete and utter nonsense. And accounts like Crypto XD are keeping it 100. And I want to share this and read it really quick because I found it pretty valuable. Question: have investors made profits by investing in Pi? Answer: no. Their assets could lose 100 to 1,000x if all tokens are unlocked. Currently, 1.7 billion Pi tokens are unlocked, but only a tenth are circulating. Full circulation would crash the price. Question: how much ad revenue has been made in the last 6 years, and how was it used? Answer: Nicholas has made 300 to 500 million from ads, which was used to create fake liquidity for Pi. Question: is it true that 80% plus of Pi miners come from poor countries like Africa, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam? Yes, developed countries have very few participants, allowing Nicholas to easily exploit the poor's desire to get rich quickly. That part I wholeheartedly agree with. What is the future of Pi, the vision for 2030? Answer: Nicholas will continue blocking over 50 million accounts from receiving Pi. He'll keep posting misleading promises. He'll dump all the Pi he holds. Millions will continue watching ads daily. The vision of Pi becoming a global currency, as stated in the white paper, will completely fail. Conclusion: this is a perfectly designed Ponzi scheme spawning many years with the main purpose of profiting from users watching ads and forcing them to buy Pi. Nicholas is the only one benefiting from this project. I felt like that was really good to share. because for one reason, or well, I won't say one reason or another. You kind of know why. Like the coin was given free to people, and it preyed upon poor countries and poor individuals. So the community of Pi is very large. There's 50 or 60 million people that own this coin, and CryptoXD posted some information that I didn't even realize was true in another tweet. There's 63 million known Pi wallets, and somewhere around 50 million of them don't have access to their tokens for one reason or another, either being caught up in their KYC or having their coins locked or whatever the case may be. It's a max supply $100 billion coin, which anybody that knows tokenomics, when you start doing the math with 100 billion tokens, it's ridiculous to even ever assume that this coin's going to reach $50 or $100. And for people to egregiously be making claims that it's going to reach $314,159 is just astronomically ridiculous. I mean, let's watch Bitcoin get there first before we think about any of these other shit coins even getting into four digits where at least Ethereum is at this point. And I just hate to see the millions and millions of people on social media who defend this token and feel like this token is going to change their lives. That's worth something like 60 cents a token right now. That they'd be far better off just selling on an exchange, if they can sell it on an exchange, and put it into something like Bitcoin that could actually have some effects in the future on their wealth and their families, where this coin is just going to go to zero. It's going to trend to zero. It's going to zero like most other coins, and probably faster than the rest of the coins. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to talk about this though, because, and this is a little bit political, but I feel like it needs to be talked about. I'm not going to so much talk about Josh Aryeh, who posted it, because it's not really relevant. I'm going to talk about this Truth Social post. I don't have Truth Social, so I can't show the Truth Social. And Trump doesn't really post on X. He posts on Truth Social. So I have this screenshot from Truth Social. Trump posted this on 4:30, which would have been yesterday morning. And I want to read it. This is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. I didn't take over until January 20th. Tariffs will soon start kicking in, and companies are starting to move into the USA in record numbers. Our country will boom, but we have to get rid of Biden overhang. This will take a while. Has nothing to do with tariffs. Only he left us with bad numbers. But when the boom begins, it will be like no other. Be patient. Rich, I don't even know where to start with this, because the saddest part about this is not that Trump tweeted it or socialed it or whatever Truth Social that you call it. The sad part is that people will read that and believe it. That's the sad part. It's not that Trump tweeted it. It's not that Trump believes it. It's that people will read that and will believe the words that are typed on that screen. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, my thing is, all these companies are moving. Okay, they're moving. Name them. Name these companies that are moving here. Like, name one. Like, it's the 200 countries are making deals with us. Like, all these things I keep hearing, but like, where's the evidence of it? And a few things that he has actually used names from were things that started, and I'm not a Biden fan, but his folks have tried to take credit for things that were already in the works like 2 years ago that were already announced. So like, I just don't buy it. And then who's the Commerce Secretary? Howard Lutnick? Who's the Commerce Secretary? Lutnick. His weird thing, he posted, he posted something too. He was on an interview talking about something about, we're all going to have these great factory jobs again, which is like, okay, like where is this happening? And so the big patient thing is the thing that drives me crazy the most in that. People are struggling. They can't be patient. Like, you've got to do things quicker. You promised you were going to do all these things quicker, and the patient one, being patient, because he didn't say that when he was running, that it would take a while. He said it was going to be done on day one in the first 100 days, etc. Here we are. So and I got to know it's political, but
show my screen real quick, because this is important for the viewers to see, because men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Okay. Yep. Like, you got to look at numbers. You can say whatever you want about why you think these certain things occur, but the facts are the facts. Trump took office January 20th. If you look at the chart that I have on the screen right now, from January 17th, to April 7th, so about 3 weeks ago, we lost about 15% in the S&P 500. Okay? So Biden was in office and the S&P 500 was over 6,000. In the 100 days that Trump has been in office, we've gone from a 6,000 S&P to a 5,000 S&P. Biden no longer has any control over anything, can't tweet anything that has any value or relevance. He can't make any executive orders. He can do nothing to affect anything. The only one that has that power is Donald Trump. When Donald Trump tweets something, when Donald Trump truth social something, when he gets in front of a camera, markets move.
Yeah.
When he made his Liberation Day bullshit that he did on April 1st, markets moved. So for him to put this up here and to say this nonsense that this is Biden's stock market, not Trump's, I didn't take over till January 20th. Okay, well, let's look at from January 20th on, because that's your stock market. You're right. Up until January 20th, that was Biden's. And you can even say, you know, when Trump got elected in November, the markets moved, but Biden was still in office. So that's, even though it probably went up because of Trump, that's Biden's market, right? So now this is Trump's market because Biden is gone. And what has the markets done since Trump has took office? It's done nothing but lose value.
And now 3 weeks ago, he posted that, well, the markets have nothing to do with the economy. Like, so ignore the markets. So like, but he can't keep saying that because people are getting hurt and people understand, because when he was president the last time, it was all about the stock market. Now he's saying the stock market doesn't matter. Now he's saying, well, the stock market's going to come back because it's somebody else's fault. Like, it's just like, and this is my problem, because he talks so much that, and you've said it for many weeks now, is that it keeps affecting the market because he keeps jumping in, and because he just wants to be the center of attention. And what that's doing in the long term is it's hurting everybody. Nobody's really benefiting from this stock market.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with this whole situation is people are stupid. That's the problem. And say what you will about Trump, he knows his opponents. He knows his base. He knows the people he's dealing with. He understands the playing field, and the average American citizen is dumb. And the MAGA base, and you can say this about the left too, the far left too. The far left and the MAGA base are basically two sides of the same coin in my eyes. They are very low IQ when it comes to reading through bullshit. Now, they may be very educated, they may be successful in whatever jobs that they do, but when it comes to like their bullshit detectors, they suck. They don't have them, because I'm seeing on X shares of this, and like people like with their American flags, and like, you know, this is all like Trump is gonna, it's like, okay, like how can you read that as a logical human being and not laugh and say, I can still support Trump, and look at that and say that that's ridiculous? Like, okay, dude, like you literally are moving markets when you're saying I'm going to tariff country X or country Y, or I'm going to tariff 60 different countries. The markets literally move because of that. Right. Now, will they eventually come back? Will things be better after? Still yet to be seen. The jury's out on that. Like, we can't say if that's going to be the case. I can't sit here and say that what he's doing is not going to work. I can make my informed, educated opinion to say that I don't think it will work, but that doesn't mean it's not going to work. It still can. I don't have any sway or influence over that. What I can say is that when Trump says things, makes decisions, gets in front of a camera, or makes an executive order, that moves markets. And in effect, that's your market. That's not Biden's market. Biden didn't do tariffs. Biden didn't sign a ton of executive orders. Biden isn't doing all of these things that are making certain sectors of markets go down because people are losing confidence and are at a state of fear. That's you and your administration doing that. So that's your market. That's not Biden.
One of the things that bothered me the most is that, you know, he renegotiated the trade deals with Mexico and Canada during his administration, and then he said, when he was running, well, these were terrible deals, and the president who should never been president. I'm like, you made the most recent trade deals that we have with Mexico and Canada were his deals. So if they were so bad, why did you negotiate them? You negotiated them. Your people negotiated them, and he doesn't even come out and say, well, it was that guy was a jerk, and I should have never hired him, and I've never met him, and all the shit that he says. But it's like, it's just either you own it or you don't. Like, it's either, you know what I mean? You can't own it when it's not going well if you're making decisions, and you're doing things that are affecting these markets. And again, like, maybe a lot of the people that are posting the American flags on Truth don't have 401ks. Maybe they just don't. They don't understand. Or they haven't opened up their mail. I don't know. One of the two.
You know who's getting crushed right now? Agriculture.
Oh,
Farmers.
for sure. Oh,
Getting
for sure.
absolutely obliterated right now.
The tariffs are killing agriculture.
And that is a big core of the MAGA base.
The pulling the subsidies is a big part of it. Like, that's part of how the whole thing works. The whole thing works because we pay farmers to do things so that they'll grow things that we can then export and use within our economy. And the fact that he's like, well, we're not, there's people there's local people in our state, in our community that received grants to build infrastructure, and they were expecting payments to finish off because they get reimbursed once those infrastructure things, whether it's a tractor, whether it's a building, and now they're not getting that. They've been told they're not getting that reimbursement. So now they're out that money. So just that alone, not to mention they're not getting the subsidies for the products that they were supposed to grow. I mean, that is it's killing agriculture. Agriculture is going to be in trouble, and wait till that starts hitting our markets. Our grocery stores, so to speak. Yeah.
On the way into the studio today, I heard a story on CNBC where Pantheon, was it Pantheon? I forget the other technological company, was accusing NVIDIA of smuggling in their chips in baby toys and live lobsters coming in from the other countries to avoid tariffs. And I thought to myself, like, NVIDIA is like one of the biggest, if not the biggest company in the whole markets. And if NVIDIA is like thinking of doing these types of things to try to sidestep these tariffs, what are these other companies going to be doing that are not making the profits that a company like NVIDIA is making and doesn't have a lot of cash like NVIDIA? So you may see a lot of like craziness that's going to be happening in regards to these companies. And that's a super extreme example. And I don't mean that all these companies are going to start smuggling things, but you're going to see some outside the box business decisions from these companies that are not going to be able to handle their profit margins and their bottom lines being affected the way they're going to be by these tariffs. That's just math. Like, those tariffs are inflationary, and those tariffs do get passed on to our consumers. It affects two sides. It affects the person that's selling the product, because then we won't purchase as much because it's going to cost so much. But those costs get passed back down to our consumers.
Right.
And I don't understand how people cannot see that and don't realize that it's like everybody. I subscribe to the Matrix philosophy that we live in a matrix and there's a lot of shit going on that's crazy. Like, I get it. But like, not every single thing is a conspiracy, and like the deep state doesn't like live in every single facet of everything. It's like, well, no other president decided to do anything about this because they're all puppets and they're all in the deep state, and this, it's like,
and even if that's all true, it doesn't matter, because I hate what he did. Like, well, did you know about, like, regardless of any of that, whether it's true or not doesn't matter, because this is where we are right now. I can't worry about what Reagan or Carter did in 1976. I can't worry about it. Like, right now, it's like, this is where we are right now. So, like, part of my side business, the network that we're on in this building, is Ubiquity product. Ubiquity is an American company. Their stuff is made in China. And they've pretty much told my supplier that we don't even know if we're going to bother trying to ship these things back to the United States anymore because they're going to become so expensive that we may just not make anything for a little while. So, okay, so that hurts China. Those guys won't be making any money but the company will it won't go bankrupt, but it's going to have to figure out how they're going to do it because they've already estimated that we've already seen the products that were already in the warehouse went up already because they're trying to figure out how financially try to figure out how to make some money now so they can absorb what's coming for the next year to 18 months. They may not be able to get the products in. So it's supply chain for regular things. And pretty much half of the restaurants I go to, if I look around, I see Ubiquiti products. So this isn't just some little market thing that I use. Most places I go, I look around and I see Ubiquiti Wi-Fi in the building. So it's going to have an effect. And then my supplier guy is a one-man show. It's going to affect him. It's going to affect, Ubiquiti's not a huge company. It's a big company, but the local store, the local sales guys, this is going to trickle down to a lot of people in a hard way. And and people don't get it. Post my American flag and say America first.
Today's a month that we did this Liberation Day stuff with the tariffs. So we're a month in, and since then we've had changes along the way. That first week we changed things 3 or 4 times.
Right.
So things lag. Things are lagging indicators, right? Everything that's in the stores, was in the stores for the past month, was already here.
Right.
So those prices were already fixed. The bills were already paid. They're selling it at the cost that they got when they bought it in February, when they bought it in March, when they bought it in January, and all that stuff. You're not going to see the true effects of these tariffs, really, probably for a couple of weeks still. But then when you do, you're going to see insane sticker shock. You're going to go to the store and try to buy something. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what product it'll be, but you're going to expect to pay one thing and you're going to be completely blown away at the price that you see for that product. Or you're going to go to the store and not be able to find it.
Yeah.
One of those two things are going to happen to people. I don't think this ends well. And I say that because I know for a fact we're not going to eliminate the trade deficit with China because you can't, because of how our dollar is constructed. So I already know, as somebody that understands money, that that's not going to be an outcome. And the fact that that's being sold to people like that's going to happen is just completely ludicrous. So,
well, did you see the rumor that there's a deal in the works with India? Have you seen the posts about that?
I did.
So
I did.
I'm going to assume it's true. Okay, let's say it's true. I mean, I don't know what the deal means. A deal doesn't mean that it's a good deal. It just means there's a deal made. And most of us, and I would admit that I would have to read the deal, and I could read it, and I still wouldn't know if it's a good deal or not. I wouldn't know. So just coming out and saying there's a deal doesn't mean it was a good deal.
Without even looking at it, I can tell you that it's going to still have a trade deficit with India. We're not going to not have a trade deficit with India.
It's impossible not to have a trade deficit with most of these countries.
Plus people there.
Yes.
We have to export dollars to them. They need to continue to use dollars. And by doing so, we need to have a trade deficit so we can export said dollars to them so they can continue to use our money and transact. That's how that shit works. So what bothers me and why I was so vocal a month ago when they first got released, and I was very adamant on social media about how I felt, is that the end goal of this is never going to be that we're going to have trade surpluses or we're going to eliminate trade deficits with any of our trade partners. What we're probably going to do is maybe get a little bit better deals than we have currently. That's fine. But you didn't need the pomp and circumstance that we got with all of this to go and do that. I don't understand why it had to be so everything's got to be transparent. We got to let you know every single thing that we're doing. It's some things don't need to be seen on an everyday basis by the American people because the American people are stupid and the American people can't process things. That's why past administrations have just done things behind the scenes because your average American can't handle it. That's why. It's not because there's any conspiracy and people are trying to be. I mean, there is some of the shady stuff that they do, but the American people can't handle every single thing, and that's why it's not given to the American people every single thing that we do on a government level. And this tweet by Trump that I showed is an example of that. I mean, people see that and they actually believe that Biden is responsible for everything that's happened for the last 100 days of Trump's presidency. Like, that's just astronomically stupid. And if you subscribe to that, you should really take a step back and reevaluate where your life's going, because it's pretty dumb. All right, let's pivot back to some Bitcoin stuff. I'm going to show another clip. This is from a BTC Sessions podcast, and Cedric Youngelman was is the main speaker in this. The clip has a quote: "Michael Saylor is building the social network of stocks. MicroStrategy is the most exciting shitcoin in the world. GameStop is the meme stock. Middle class America is excited about GameStop, and I would like to see middle America get excited about Bitcoin." So I'm going to play this 2-minute clip. We'll listen to it, and then we will process it and talk about it after.
I am really bullish on GameStop investing in Bitcoin. I was actually at Michael Saylor's house on New Year's Eve, and I was sitting in on a conversation with him asking Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO from Rumble, about, do you have cash on hand after you raise money? Oh, your stock went up. The stock market expects you to buy Bitcoin. You need to announce that you're going to buy Bitcoin. You need to buy the Bitcoin. You need to announce that you bought the Bitcoin. You need to announce that you're going to buy more Bitcoin. You need to announce that you're going to borrow to buy more Bitcoin. And what's being shown here is what Michael Saylor is building is the social network of stocks. So Bitcoin is the social network of money. It's the most interesting thing in the world. Michael Saylor has turned MicroStrategy into the most interesting stock in the world. It's what people talk about every day. What is he financializing with MicroStrategy? What new debt product? What new equity products? How is he speculatively attacking the dollar? If the stock's up a lot of money, they want to talk to him on CNBC. If the stock's down a lot of money, they want to talk to him on CNBC, right? It's the most interesting stock each day. It's one of the most traded stocks in the world. The options are one of the most traded options in the world. And GameStop was, temporarily for a while, one of the most exciting meme stocks, right? And so MicroStrategy is basically the king of the meme stocks, or I don't say this pejoratively, but like the king of the shit coins, right? It's the most exciting shitcoin in the world. And I love the financialization of Bitcoin and eating Wall Street alive. And he's sort of the maestro here doing it. So GameStop, why is that exciting? Well, GameStop is the meme stock, and it's exciting because I think middle-class America is kind of excited about GameStop, or they were. And I would like to see middle-class America kind of get excited about Bitcoin.
Today's Bullish Bit was brought to you by
So that was a clip. Cedric Youngelman. He's a very good follow on X, as well as BTC Sessions. They're both very good follows on X. But I seem to agree with Cedric's take. He's right. I mean, Michael Saylor has been on CNBC being interviewed by various different shows and analysts more times than I can count over the last 4 or 5 years. When that stock moves, he gets interviewed. And actually, I actually meant to look at their stock today because I'm assuming it's moving as Bitcoin's price has moved. Yeah, it's up 1.63%. It looks like it was over 400 at 403 at 11:15 a.m. Right now it's trading at about 386 with what do we got? 20 minutes left in the trading day. So it's up, it's moving. If we look back in the 1 month, we got as low as on April 8th, my birthday, we got down to 237.95. Look at that move. $237.95 April 8th, roughly 3 weeks ago, to a $386.52. So it's up about 26% in that. Wow, that's yeah. I mean, when Bitcoin moves, MicroStrategy moves. It's that leverage play. So if you do stocks and you're a Bitcoiner, I don't do stocks even as a Bitcoiner. But if I did, MicroStrategy would probably be the stock that I would own. Maybe even GameStop because of their exposure to Bitcoin. But the sentiment of seeing middle class America getting into Bitcoin is a sentiment that I definitely subscribe to. And this next post I want to show you kind of exemplifies that take. Robert Breedlove again, he tweeted this. We showed his What is Money podcast earlier. But before we get going, if you're watching this, again, please like this video, subscribe to YouTube, follow me on socials. It's going underneath the screen at the current time as I'm speaking. 1% control the world. 4% are their puppets. 90% are asleep. 5% know and try to wake the 90%. The 1% use the 4% to prevent the 5% from waking up the 90%. There's a lot there, Rich. As we're getting rained on in the studio.
I think the Democrats turned on their weather machine to try to silence you out.
They're trying to stop the 5% from waking up the 90%.
That is rain on a steel roof building.
Yeah.
It's funny. You know what you need? You need to get that made into a T-shirt. I'm telling you, that's one of the greatest. Seriously, that could be anything too. Like, you know what I mean? Like we could post that. That could be about anything in our country, whether it's media, whether it's stocks, whether it's real estate, whether it's the news. I don't think there's anything that that is not applicable to. You could change a percent here or there, but right, like that is essentially what we're all up against. Like I said, regardless of it, and I don't care. The funny thing about that 1%, when we think about who's in that 1%, they're not Republicans, they're not Democrats, they're just way too powerful people that happen to pretend to be one party.
You know who's not in the 1%? And people would probably say is Donald Trump.
No, but he, and I say this to people all the time, he wants to be really either be in that 1% or be the guy that 1% just loves. He wants them to have his back. He wants to be like the oligarchs that we had in Russia.
Person can't name the 1%.
Yeah.
I can, because I study this stuff, and I don't know all their names, so I won't say I know all their names, but I can tell you some of the players. But who you think as an average, not you, Rich, but who you as the viewer probably think the 1% is not the 1%.
Right.
They're the 4%. Those are the people that are trotted out to you that are their puppets. That, like the MAGA base following Trump. Trump is part of the 4%.
Oh, for sure.
He is one of those puppets.
Yeah.
And the puppets don't always know that they're puppets. And I think if you truth serum Trump, he would probably tell you, I'm not controlled by anyone. And he would really believe that. And the truth of the matter is that he makes deals. And when you make deals, you give up. There's deals that are made, and you're making deals with the devil sometimes in some cases. Bitcoin maxis, individuals like myself, we're the 5%. We are the ones that know, and we're trying to wake up the rest of and I feel like it's more than 90. I mean, the 5%, I feel like the 5% is maybe like 2. I think 5 is a high number.
I think it depends. I think, if I was talking about finance, I couldn't speak to finance, but I think when you think of like people that truly understand what's going on in our country politically, in the world politically, it's about 5%. Like just based on what I read and the people that I follow and the books that I've been reading lately, I'm getting weirder and weirder in terms of the more that I read, it's, I go down these rabbit holes, but it's like, it started, some of it's making so much sense to me now. And it's not, and it, again, that's where I say I don't blame, like, but if Biden and his friends could put back on the, like, I don't believe that the Democratic Party is going to save the country. I don't believe that the Republicans are going to save the country. I just feel like they're all just doing whatever that 1% is telling them to do, whether they realize that 1% is telling them to do it or not. They just know this is the way they have to function, No
matter what area of anything in the world that you decide to spend time to allocate time to study because you're interested in it, if you truly look for answers to that area, it all comes back to the money.
Oh, sure.
All the problems that revolve around all different kinds of life areas comes back to the fact that the money is broken. And because the money is broken, you see the ramifications across all spectrums. Politics are messed up because the money is broken. Educational system is messed up because the money is broken. Job markets are messed up because the money is broken. Anything, any area that you wanna study or talk about, money is broken. The tariffs, these tariff wars and political wars, money is broken. The Ukraine-Russia conflict and the Israel and Gaza conflict cannot exist unless the money was broken. You cannot fight endless wars with broken money.
Yeah, I mean, we've probably talked about this before. I'm more of the political side of things. Like, why did we want to give weapons to Ukraine, for example? It has nothing to do with we want to support Ukraine. Yes, there's a portion of that. But most
of the people that are calling that shot.
Right. But most of the people that want to give weapons to Ukraine is so that if the United States gives 20% of our weapons, our bombs to Ukraine, guess what the United States goes and does? They goes and buys a new 20% of bombs. And that is being promoted to them by, different groups. We know which companies they are that are making all these weapons that we buy every year in our budget. And they've talked about increasing the military budget by 20% for next year. To buy all this equipment, and it's again because these are very powerful corporations. I don't know if I guess I'm not smart enough to know if those big influencers are the 4% or the 1%. Probably an overlap of both. That why we have to buy these bombs, and that's why we have to give away the old stuff because the old stuff's sitting there in a warehouse. We're never going to use it, so let's give it away. Someone can use it, and we'll buy some new stuff.
Here's a thought experiment. Bush really thought there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. I think he did. I believe he probably did. I believe he was fed information purposefully to believe, because again, he's one of the puppets that's got to go out there and tell you. So he needs to believe that. He can't know that it's not real, because while world leaders have to be narcissistic and have all these qualities in order to be able to lead that lifestyle, they also have to have some semblance of charisma and character, and they need to go out there and say what they believe, unless they're complete sociopaths, right? Which would probably not make a great leader. You'd probably over 4 years be able to figure that out,
right?
And they'd oust themselves. So I think, Don's opinion, that Bush really believed there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Cheney, different story. The people that call the shots beyond Cheney and beyond Bush knew for a fact there were not weapons of mass destruction. What they did know was that if we could get our administration to move forward with a war in that region of the country, region of the world,
yep,
that we could start something that would last a very long time.
Yeah.
And we could make money two ways. Way number one, selling our weapons, providing our weapons, and all that stuff. Way number two, all the destruction that comes with those weapons, we come in and fix that.
Yeah.
So we make money going in, and we make money fixing everything, and we rinse and repeat, and we do that for 20 years, not only in Iraq, but it was going so well in Iraq that we decided, let's go do it in Afghanistan too.
Yeah.
So you have two 20-year wars, and you have
a lot of contracts from Halliburton and all those companies, like a ton of money, went into that, and it's more than I think people even realize when you think about, again, the companies that, because like you said, the companies that got those contracts to rebuild the airport or infrastructure, the hospitals, whatever it might be, those are all international companies with really, really, really influence. The United States doesn't get a cut of it. They never will. But they do it because they want they get that influence gets bought by those companies.
Let's do this real quick because we got 10 minutes left. We can. I don't know how much time we'll spend on it, but I feel like we can go down this rabbit hole for a second. 9/11 happens. Within hours, Obama or Osama bin Laden is named as a possible conspirator. Right? You remember that? You watch it in real time like I did back then. I don't know how many hours per se. It might have been 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever hour. That day, bin Laden's name was floated because he had bombed some ship while Clinton was president, and he was one of those names that were thrown out there. Right? We go to war with Iraq. We go to war with Afghanistan. Saudi Arabia is where bin Laden was basically from. Pakistan is where we found bin Laden when we killed him. We never touched Saudi Arabia. We never touched Pakistan, but we went to Iraq and we went to Afghanistan. So what was this all really about? Were we really fighting terror? Or was this a bigger grand? And again, I don't want to go to the whole 9/11 conspiracy because there's so many of those and there's so much. I will say there's a lot of sketchy shit about 9/11 if you really start to dig into it. A lot of sketchy stuff that happened that day. A lot of sketchy stuff that you see after the fact. But I'm not an expert by any stretch of the means to make any claims or any of that kind of stuff. What I will say is, to say that maybe it was whatever it was, they saw that as a absolutely dynamite, perfect opportunity to do what they did for 20 years after that event. They prostituted that event to such an extent that thousands of American soldiers, innocent American soldiers, lost their lives over two conflicts that had nothing to do with what happened on that day.
Right.
Absolutely nothing to do with what happened on that day. Because when you see all the dots and where they start connecting, neither one of those goes to Iraq and neither one of those goes to Afghanistan. It goes to two other spots that we never fought any wars or any conflicts with to this day.
Well, it's war is good for business and so is peace. And it's the difference is like, because obviously Vietnam, one of our last big, I think that was a conflict where that was still, to me, Vietnam was a political.
Somebody said muted.
You know what? I checked it.
We're good? Okay.
I'm hearing our audio on you.
Okay.
And that person, Shirley Sound, commented muted on Facebook, but on YouTube I checked it, and I'm listening to YouTube.
Okay.
So we're delayed, but so I don't know.
No, that's good.
So I apologize to Shirley Sound. I'm hearing it on my phone.
Okay.
But I mean, I feel like after Vietnam was probably the last like truly political war. I mean, there was corporations involved with that too.
Vietnam is what led us to get off. Vietnam was the catalyst for us getting off the gold standard because we saw.
I never knew that.
I've talked about this before. Some people think it's a conspiracy. It's not. If you dig in deep enough, you can see what happened. Vietnam happens in the late 60s, and the rumblings around the world were that we were printing money that wasn't backed by dollars. So if you watch, and we can show it at some point again, when Nixon makes his speech about us going off the gold standard, he says protecting and defending the dollar against the speculators. He says that. What he's inferring is in the late 60s, we were secretly printing dollars like we do today, but not. We saw what could be done, and we were like, why are we pegging this thing to tying ourselves to this gold thing when we can just print this shit at will and just fund this war and send these, and they were like, wow, we're onto something. And Vietnam was the catalyst that we saw what could be done if we got off of a gold standard, and then everything that happened after that was because we saw what we could do with Vietnam by not having a dollar tied to a gold commodity, and then when 2001 comes along, we went full board. We were like, oh shit, we don't have nothing back. We can just print trillions and trillions. And they talk about the $20 trillion, whatever you want. It's like they're just printing and printing and printing.
Yep.
the GFC would have looked a whole hell of a lot different if we were backed by gold. The world would have collapsed, and it should have collapsed, but we would have got the reset that was necessary if we had real money.
Right.
But because we have fake fiat and our money system is broken, you can just keep putting Band-Aids on things that need surgery over and
Well,
over
I mean,
and
you
over.
remember even after like 9/11, like the amount of money that we put into the airline industry, because we couldn't have that fail because it's such a big part of our economy. And I'm like, well, maybe it should have been done differently. I'm not saying I know how it should have been done, but it seems like now we lost a lot of the competitive airline prices that we used to have. We've lost a fair amount of airlines in spite of whatever the federal government said they were going to do to kind of preserve this. You still ended up with, like less airlines than we used to have. And it's and if you look at all, and again, I'm a media guy, and if you look at the amount of media companies that we used to have in the 1980s, there was 195 different media companies, and now we're down to like 6 to 8, depending on how you want to count it. And like that has changed, everything. That's changed like the content that we see. So it's all the same stuff. It's it's all different, outcomes based on a overall philosophy that is kind of just screwing the younger
If
folks.
you want to show this real quick, you just reminded me. I don't know how many of our viewers know this, but if you're planning to travel or you're going to travel at some point in the future,
Yep.
you are now required to have a real ID to board a plane starting in May of 2025. So if you do not have an enhanced license or a passport, you're not getting on a plane. So make
And
sure.
how much does the real ID cost?
It's like, I know getting a regular identification is only like, depending on the state that you're in, I think here it's like $20.
Right.
And if you get an enhanced ID, it's like around 100.
Right.
So it's like 5 times more, which is, part of it, getting people to spend more money. But the other thing too is that people may want to know, especially like I'm just thinking of this, like that people traveling to like Washington D.C. because over the summer
Right.
people travel there. You cannot get into a federal building without a real ID. If you are planning to go visit one of those federal buildings in Washington D.C. this summer and you don't have a real ID, they're not letting you in.
So you have to have identification to get into something like the Smithsonian or just federal buildings? Because
At
the Smithsonian technically is a federal
If the
building.
building is federal, and I don't know the specific like that example, but I know like if you want to go view the Constitution or one of those types of
Right.
things, you're probably not getting in.
So if you're an
without a
international traveler, you can't get into those facilities?
passport.
Okay.
So you need real identification. A passport would qualify, but if you're an American citizen and you don't have,
And theoretically, if you're traveling from another country, you're already carrying your passport.
you got it. Yeah, so you're good.
So
It's
you just
for
gotta
people.
carry it,
It's
you
for
know.
it's this is more for us as American
Yeah.
citizens because I guarantee you, if you polled 100 people, 50 are going to not know that. This
Well, the
is a
good
thing.
news is because I'm getting all this my inflation refund check from the governor, I can use that to pay for my real ID.
I saw that today too, and I don't know how to feel about that.
I almost feel like first of all, it's nothing, and
$400, right?
it's a bit like I looked. I'm married, filing, whatever, and based on our income, I'm probably going to get $300. Okay, great. Like $300, that's 1 week of groceries. Again, my wife and I need real IDs now. Or I guess I guess the question is, I have passports.
do
So
they
can I use my passport?
Do
instead
they
of my
not
real ID?
understand that inflation reduction checks make inflation? Because
Yeah.
your print that God, we don't have enough
But
time.
let's be honest, they don't care.
enough time
They
for
want
that.
it's the $300 inflation check is no different than
Makes my brain hurt.
any of our presidents giving us a check during COVID or whatever it was, and no matter who it is, because he gave me money, because people aren't smuffed and realize it's your money.
If you read
it's
the-
not even real money.
If you read the article too, the Trump could potentially stop it from going out, and the budget hasn't been approved yet, so it's not like it's coming in the next couple of weeks. They still have to do some things for us to get it. It's a good political stunt. We'll end on this right here. This happened this week. Pending approval from the governor, but Arizona is the first state to launch the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. They got approval from their Senate and approval from their House, overwhelmingly on both sides to get it approved. It's going to the governor's desk. She has to sign it. She could potentially veto it. From what I've heard, she's Democrat. But she has signed some other. I listened to a Spaces earlier this week that was talking about some of the other crypto-friendly things that she has signed, or maybe not signed, but not vetoed. So this is a good thing, I guess. I don't know what it really is going to do in regards to putting Bitcoin on Arizona's balance sheet. Some of these things I feel like are just more news plugs and just I don't know. I don't know how I feel about these strategic reserves. I don't know really what it's going to mean if these states are going to actively be putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets. I think it's more of a big thing if the United States actually starts actively buying Bitcoin. That's more of a big deal than a state like Arizona doing so. So, yeah, that's basically where we're at. Thanks for anybody that watched live. Thanks for everybody watching on the playback. Again, underneath the screen, you'll see at the bottom, all of our socials are going on the screen. If you could like this video, comment on the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, help us get into the algorithm, get this message out. Like I said, we are the only live stream in the Western New York area. We're sitting in Niagara Falls, New York, the former honeymoon capital of the world, giving out that Bitcoin alpha. Yeah. As always, with everything in life, don't trust, verify. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Peace.